Hi, I'm Kitty and this is how you sew the glowworm. So in your standard kit you will get a 6-inch embroidery hoop, a needle threader. You also get a sampler to teach you the 6 stitches that you'll need for this kit, which are backstitch, whipped backstitch, chain stitch, lazy daisy stitch, satin stitch and French knots. There's a separate video on how to do all of those stitches and also, how to start your thread, how to finish off, how to thread your needle, all of that kind of thing. So if you haven't watched that and you feel like you need some guidance with any of that, then go and watch that and then come back and carry on watching this. And then you also have 2 needles, one big and one small. You've got your coloured thread here, all on numbered bobbins, and you also have an extra one here that says tester, and this is for you to do your sampler with. Lastly, you have a cheat sheet. This one is a bit crumpled from being in my bag, but your one will be better. So you've got some tips and tricks here. You've got a diagram of the design with all of the written instructions here, so you don't have to keep back and watching this video. You've got your key here and your threads that you're given will correspond to the colours on the key. You will also need a pair of scissors. Any scissors will do. And for this video, I am going to be using an embroidery stand. When I'm embroidering on my own, I don't like using one of these. I prefer to have it in my hand so I can sort of turn it this way and that. But some people really like these. It sort of holds your piece so that you can use both your hands. They're really cheap to get, but it's up to you, really. So you can really start anywhere on all of these pieces. It doesn't really matter. I always like to start on the inside going out, because if you do the border last, you can sort of count how many things you've got left to go. So it feels like the end is in sight more. So I am going to start off with the whipped backstitch bits, which actually in this piece is only the yellow border. Secure your fabric in your hoop. You want it to be quite tight. You can tighten it using this thing here. So it's using the yellow thread. So you find your yellow bobbin and all of the elements of this piece, you use only 3 strands of thread and they come in strands of 6. So you want to take about 40 centimeters of thread and cut it. Ooh. And then you need to split it in half. So everyone's got their own ways of doing this, but I just tap it like that. Separate out 3 and 3 and really gently pull like that. Then you make a knot and thread your needle. If you want to use the needle threader, instructions for that are in the sampler video, and I also go through sort of beginning and ending your pieces in a lot more detail. So for the whip backstitch, just start anywhere. It's not really a start or an end of a worm, I guess. And you want to go in a simple backstitch around the outline. I would always recommend having a really good light when you are sewing, because otherwise you'll hurt your eyes. And it's especially important for the pieces that are on darker fabric like this, because the black lines are less easy to see. Once you've gone round the whole worm, you're going to go round again and you're going to whip your backstitch. So come up from where you started or where you stopped, wherever, pull through, and you're going to get your needle and just twist the thread back through the stitches, so it forms a really solid, bold line. And then once you've finished, you just put your needle back through there, turn the fabric over, and just finish your stitch in the way that you normally would, with a couple of small stitches at the back to make a knot. And remember to cut it quite short. Otherwise, if you have dangling bits of thread here, it will make knots. The next bits that I'm going to show you are going to be the backstitch bits, and I probably should have shown you the backstitch before I showed you the whip backstitch, because the backstitch is just basically the first step of the whip backstitch. So in this piece, the backstitch pieces are the orange outline that goes outside the yellow outline, the border, the yellow border here, and the writing. This end tail bit here, this is all backstitch. The eye, the eyebrow, and the outside of these, the blue outside of the orange circles. So there's actually quite a lot. You just get a 40cm piece of thread, cut it, separate it, tie a knot. If you're having difficulty threading your needle, it's an idea to just cut off the very end of your thread. There we go. Okay, so super easy. Want to stay really close to your yellow line. You don't want any blue in the middle of the orange and the yellow. So you go around and just hugging the line, go in a back stitch. There we go. And again, just finish it off in the same way as usual. I will just quickly show you how to do the writing as well, because people seem to be quite nervous about doing the writing, but actually it's one of the easiest bits. I think people are nervous because it's quite small, but the fact that it's quite small means actually for almost all of the letters you only need to use one single stitch per line. You just follow the line in a backstitch. Oh, sometimes this happens. You accidentally pull your knot as well as the needle when you're pulling through, and you'll waste loads of thread if that happens. So if you do see your knot coming way down, just pull your needle all the way through until it gets taut like that, and then problem sorted. There you go, that's your first word. It's just as easy as that. The other things to note for backstitch are that you can see these ones, these pink middles to this end are longer. They go all the way out to the end of the petals. So just use a longer stitch for those ones. And The one and only French knot in this piece is in the middle of the eye. If you don't want to do a French knot for that, just replace it with a small backstitch and literally no one will be able to tell the difference. So the next thing I'm going to show you is this long green chain stitch that goes down the middle of the worm. If you're not comfortable with chain stitch, just substitute it for a whipped backstitch. But if you do want to do it, then this is how you do it. So for my chain stitch, I am going to turn my piece around. I always like to do chain stitch, so it's traveling away from me as opposed to coming towards me. So get your green, and split it, tie your knot. Do remember to keep your needle in your fabric. I've got a very bad habit of sticking my needle in the arm of the sofa, which has led to many unexpected stabbings. You come up through the beginning of the line, you pull your thread all the way out, hold this bit of thread here, needle back down, and then about 3 millimeters away, bring your needle back up and pull to make a little loop. And then for the second stitch, back down where you came up, needle through and pull. And then you basically just do that all the way down the worm. And you should end up with a long line like this. To finish it off, you just do one small stitch at the end like that and gently pull it through. The next thing I'll show you is the satin stitch bits. So in this piece you use the satin stitch for these pink lines here, the orange circles, these white drops, and that's it. So I'll show you these orange circles here. You might have already gone round them in the blue backstitch. It doesn't really matter if you do the outline or the circles first. But a tip for satin stitch when you're doing a shape that's wider on one bit than on the other is to start at the longest point. So for this circle, I'm going to start here. And then work your way out. And there's your circle. For the pink, you just go around these black lines. Remember to go outside the black line instead of inside the black line, otherwise you'll see it. And for these white drops, go long ways instead of across. It will just be easier. For some of the small ones, you'll literally only need 2 or 3 stitches. So, as I said, there is one single French knot in this piece. Do just replace it with a small backstitch, but if you do want to have a go, then this is how you do it. You come up in the center of the eye, pull your needle through, wrap the thread around your needle once, and go down not in the exact hole that you came up from. Make sure the knot is really flush against the fabric and pull it through to make a knot. The last stitch I'm going to show you is the lazy daisy stitch, which is the stitch I use for all of the flowers in the border. And there are also these really little yellow ones in the middle of these pink lines. So to make the flowers, you come up through the center of the flower like this, pull it through, hold this bit of thread here so it doesn't get caught, down through the hole you came up through, and up to the furthest point away of the flower, and then do a little stitch there to secure it and just pull that gently. And then you just go round and round. So and that's how you make your flowers. As I said, there is one little small stitch in the middle of these pink sort of diamonds on the body. I've made a very small line here to show you where to put your stitch, but it's basically obvious, it's just in the middle somewhere. So pull that through, down, up, and secure it. And this pattern basically just repeats all the way down the body of the worm. So hopefully I have explained well enough how to sew this. If you do still have any questions, then just get in touch and we can help you. And I hope you enjoy it.